Station of Channel 2 Sports, The Last Ditka Show. January 5th, after a week and a half of twisting in the wind, Mike Ditka finally gets the news.
I've come to the difficult conclusion that it's best to start that process with a new head coach.
An emotional man, Ditka speaks from his heart.
I thank the fans of the city.
Friends gather round. Fans voice support.
I'll tell you, my heart, I love that guy.
But what really happened to Mike Ditka? It's a story only one man can tell, and he will. Mike Ditka, Johnny Morris, Corey McFerrin, and Howard Sudbury. The Last Ditka Show.
Hello, I'm Johnny Morris, and welcome to the Last Ditka Show. It is a bittersweet night for us, our final show after 11 years, but it's also the best chance yet to get some insight into the firing of Iron Mike. The coach arrived at our studios just a short time ago. He was greeted by fans and supporters who have rallied around ever since the axe came down. It is a scene that's been repeated all over Chicago this week. And I don't think we should wait any longer. He may not be the coach of the Chicago Bears anymore, but he will always be a Chicago Bear. Let's bring up Mike Ditka. Oh, Mike. The first thing you got to do is put your mic on. We can't talk to you. Mike, even you've got to be amazed at the fan reaction this week and what has gone on.
Well, I guess you're amazed. I really, you know, we won a Super Bowl, and I don't think there was this big of a stir. And when I was hired, I know there certainly wasn't this big a stir. And when you get fired, there's a big commotion. But you know, there's not much else to say. It's been a great 11-year run. I think there are some people that appreciate it, and there are some who would like me to apologize, and I can't do that because I've enjoyed every bit of it, the good and the bad, and I realize that you know, for me, it's probably a learning process. You just think how much smarter I am now than when I came here. And I'm probably a lot smarter than some other people think I am.
As you reflect back on it, what stands out the most in your mind? I'm talking about this week, not your career.
I don't think I could say anything this week stood out except that the outpouring of support that I've had from friends and people and fans. I think the thing that I remember through this 11 years is 1985, the building of that football team, which started in 1982, 83, 84, the game down in Washington in 84 when we beat the Redskins in the playoffs, went on into San Francisco and got beaten. The next year that team had the resolve to come back and dedicate themselves to winning a Super Bowl. And people say, well, you know, all the pieces were put in the puzzle. The pieces were put in the puzzle because those fellas, those football players, and those assistant coaches put the pieces in the puzzle. That's the only reason they went in the puzzle. You know, contrary to what anybody may ever say or think, the players and the coaches made that happen. And I had the best coaches and I had the best players.
When did you sense, first, when did you say, I'm going to get fired? When did you know it? At what point of the season did you think it?
Well, I really thought there was something strange going on when everything started, people started talking about how enthusiastic I would be to continue on next year or when I was going to be evaluated. I thought that was a little unusual. And then I knew it was really going to happen after the Detroit game.
Can Mike McCaskey win with this organization the way it is run, the way it's structured?
I think you can do. I think you have to make some changes, and I think changes are inevitable. I think that's one of the things that will happen, and maybe that's probably the best thing about me going is that there will be some changes, and that'll give somebody else a chance to do some things that maybe weren't done before. No, I think change is inevitable. It has to happen.
You know, as I reflect on this week, the first thing that happened was the press conference on Tuesday when you came out, and I remember looking at you when you were, while Mike McCaskey was talking. What was going through your mind at that moment there as he stands up there saying, this man stands up there and says that you're gone?
I'd like to emphasize.
Well, you know, I don't think, you know, I don't think I've ever thought of being at a final thing like I'm gone. I never thought about that. I'll never be gone from Chicago. I'll never be gone in my heart from what this thing has meant to me, from what the Bears have stood for these last, what the Bears have stood for 70 years. So I'm not going to get into that, 70-some years. I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I had an opportunity to spend 11 years as a coach and 6 years as a player in this city, and I really couldn't say it the other day because I broke up, but I do believe that these are the greatest fans in the world. I really mean it. I think they've really been fair. I think that they've been fair. I think they've been very supportive. And I think when they have had a legitimate gripe about me, that they express it that way, and I appreciate that. I've never had a problem with that.
You know, they had afterwards when you had gotten the word, we had a little party upstairs. In fact, I happened to be there with some friends and some of the assistant coaches. That was kind of a really, even though you had been fired, it was really, there's some tender moments at that time.
It was. You know, I think the hardest thing, somebody asked me a question today which kind of was a little offensive, and it says, well, don't I feel anything for my assistant coaches? That's what I feel the most. That really bothers me because I love the assistant coaches. They mean the most to me. They're the people who really count in my life. I've had a great relationship with those people, and I don't want that to change. You know, when I think about those guys, and you know, in my life, you know, I've been doing this for so long, but my life is always, I've always ended up on my feet. I really have. I've been knocked down, I bounce up. But these guys have never got to quite that plateau where I got, and you know, it upsets their life, it upsets their families. They got to move around, they got to go look for another job. That bothers me tremendously. That's why I felt that I had a great responsibility to them to keep that thing intact. If you notice, we didn't change very many coaches when I was here, except the coaches who left on their own. We don't fire coaches. We don't blame coaches when things go wrong. I happened to learn that from a guy in Dallas. The people, and if you look at how long Tom Landry kept his coaching staff intact, he kept it intact for a long time because he never put the blame on assistant coaches or never said, we're going to get better by getting rid of this guy or that guy. And I felt the same way. That's why these guys were so special to me.
You know, one thing that I remember when the next day they carted your golf cart away, and it was, that
was my golf cart away. That was a gift from my good friends, the Juries up in Rockford, and that's my golf cart, and that golf cart will that golf cart will ride again. It'll ride again somewhere, but it might be on a golf course, but it will ride again.
Okay, you know, Mike, everyone's wondering what's going to be next for you. You're just back from California where you did a little bit of television work, and Channel 2's Corey McPherrin went along for the trip, and he's out in the audience right now. Corey?
Mike, I guess a lot of us thought perhaps you would have an opportunity to relax a little bit. Obviously, you shot that commercial the other day out there for potato chips, I believe, and this weekend you're on TV all over the place, NFL Live, NFL Today. I believe you're on the Larry King Show. Saturday Night Live is after you. You're Mr. Television. Are you going to enjoy this weekend? Does that mean no?
Where were all these people 3 weeks ago? I could have saved my job. Could have saved my job if I would have been on TV.
I guess the question then comes up, if things don't work out where you're on the sidelines next fall, do you anticipate hooking up with a network as a regular contributor next fall?
Well, I think that's a little early to you know, make those kind of decisions. I'm going to talk to some people and try to analyze what I want to do. I still think, you know, contrary to what some people may think, that I got a great deal of enthusiasm for coaching, and I think I still know how to coach. I really do.
So can we read that into meaning that you would...
If the right opportunity arrives, I will do it again.
I didn't have to ask the question?
You know, you're telling us that I know how intense you are. Do you really think that maybe you could play golf for a year?
No.
Well,
probably if I could play with somebody of your talent and win all it would help. No, I think that, golf to me was an outlet. It was a way to relax. But I think if you say, okay, here's the clubs, you got to do this for, 12 hours a day for the next 8 months, I don't think I'd enjoy that too much.
I didn't think so either.
Let's do it over. For a while, I'm sure. Let's throw it to Howard Sudbury. Howard, we've been up in Lake Forest quite a bit this last week, and we've noticed some changes in the physical landscape, haven't we?
Yeah, you put that very well. It's been a wild week at Hallis Hall. As he said, we're out there almost every day. Coach Ditka cleared his office out, and then someone cleared something else out. You know, when you're the coach of a big-time football team, you get your own parking spot, and it's a good one. They don't want you walking a mile to get to work. You get the spot right by the door, and a nice concrete block with your name on it. And that's one of the perks of the job. And you can pan down from Mike's truck, and there it is with the name Mike Ditka right by the door, baby. But that changed as the week went on, as we said. Here's what happened at Hallis Hall. Soon after our favorite coach was fired, that big, heavy, white block of concrete that marked his parking spot mysteriously disappeared. And I didn't see it on the back of his truck, so I can assume that he didn't take it with him. It turned into a job by nightfall for Lake Forest Police, and they were on the scene investigating to find out who took that souvenir. So the fans are doing anything they can, I think, to get a piece of Mike Ditka. And Mike, another interesting thing that a fan did today, did you see the ad in the Southtown Economist for a coach?
I didn't see that. Somebody told me about it.
Let me read a little bit of it to you. It says, wanted, coach, professional football team. No experience necessary, long hours, few rewards, little respect, no appreciation. Must be able to put up with unrealistic demands of owners and media. Will be expected to turn mediocre football team to Super Bowl caliber in 2 years without substantial cash expenditures. Now wait, there's more. It gets better. Benefits include lifetime supply of Rolaids and possible commercial endorsements. Grabowski's need not apply. Contact MM. Are you interested?
Well, I'm a Grabowski. That would leave me out.
All right.
Oh, God. I tell you, it's amazing, Mike.
It's like This Is Your Life, isn't it? Like, I know Ralph Edwards is some here in the... Where's he? Ralph, come on out here. I know he's there. Now, this is great. Thank you.
I think your family has taken it really harder than you have.
Well, it's been hard on Diana, and I'm sure my mom. We called for Mom, and my dad has very few words. She's in church. Why is she in church? She's praying for Michael. So Michael needs prayers, but Mom always prayed for me. So it's tough. It's a change, and I'm sure one of these days, and it may take a while, that it'll probably hit me harder at some point later, maybe, than it hit me the other day. Because the other day I was pretty resigned to the fact. It was just hard to talk, that's all, because I had some emotions built up. But hey, I really mean that all things pass, and when there's an ending, there's a beginning. Where there ends something, something begins. So I'm looking at the beginning, not the end.
I'm going to climb that mountain again. Don't go away. There's a lot more still ahead with Mike Ditka. In a moment, we'll talk Super Bowl with Iron Mike. He's called it his finest moment as a coach. Mike Ditka carried off the field after winning the big one, the Super Bowl. And welcome back to the last Ditka Show. And Mike, I know a little bit later we're going to have a lot of questions from the fans. But let's just talk briefly for a moment about that crowning moment of the Super Bowl, what it meant to you.
Well, I can't do that because that crowning moment, Gary's up here, and I want to tell you the crowning moment to me started when we got beat in San Francisco the year before. It started when we went to Washington and nobody gave us a chance to win. Steve Fuller was a quarterback, and we played great football, everybody. It was just a great football. When we went out there, we got beat. We thought we could beat the 49. We weren't ready. But the next year we were ready, and when we played them, we were ready, and we did beat them.
Well, you mentioned Gary Fensick, so I think I ought to introduce a former Chicago Bear who played, as you know, for Mike Ditka, played in the Super Bowl, All-Pro many times. And let's go to some videotape of Mr. Gary Fensick.
Is that Gary Fenton?
On Halloween night.
Okay. Anyway, I'm just going to
I didn't get paid as much as him either.
I don't know. They look, I've never seen you do that stuff.
Okay, Gary, you played for him. You've been covering him. You've been doing the Chicago Bear games on radio. You know this man very well. What was your reaction, and what do you think is going to happen with Mike Ditka?
Well, I think the one thing is it's like when a player retires, you know, a lot of people try to mourn him. I think we're here to celebrate Mike Ditka because I'm confident he's going to do whatever he wants. And, you know, everyone's talking about is he going to coach in Phoenix, New England, da-da-da. It goes on and on. Houston, he could take over Jack Pardee's job. But I think that's up to Mike Ditka. But, you know, I think everyone's disappointed. A decision was made, and I'm not here to go one way or the other on the argument, but I think that people are a little disappointed the way it was handled. But I'm not sure that, you know, I could go up to Mike. We had a nice talk after I retired, and, you know, it didn't quite go the way I wanted it to go my last year. And you're always disappointed when you don't get to, you know, make the shot, but it happens. And, you know, I just hope that, you know, the next Bear coach, and I'm sure Mike shares this, has the benefit of having a little more talent than they had this year.
What are some of the things that you might remember about in the key areas of 84 and 85, things that he did?
I always wanted to check that hand to see if it was, you know,
really broken,
after he broke it, you know.
Never healed up right.
That was after, you know, another overtime loss. We had lost in New Orleans, and we went out to Baltimore and lost that game. I think Mike really hit it on the head, though. We won the 85 Super Bowl. Remember, Johnny, I talked to you after that that painful loss in San Francisco. I had 2 picks in the first half, and we were all crying like kids in that locker room. But I think the real moment was the preseason, the first practice, the first speech that Mike gave to us, and he said something to the effect, I don't know about you guys, but second best is not good enough for me. From that moment on, every game, we were absolutely committed as a team and as an organization to win every single game.
To be the best.
To be the best.
And there's something about that, you know, which comes first, the chicken or the egg, you know, this momentum that you gain esprit de corps-wise as a team. It can mushroom just like losing, but in winning, it's the greatest feeling, isn't it?
But we had never had that, you know, we had never mushroomed before.
But when you get it, you know you've got it, right? It's like when you're in love, you know you're in love.
Yeah, it really was.
The thing that made it so great about that football team is that was the most unselfish football team because nobody really cared who got the credit. I really have to say that. Now, I'm not saying once we had the success of winning the Super Bowl, then maybe it changed a little bit. Not that much, but that team really didn't care who got the credit. I really mean that. You know, we always relied on our defense, and we relied on it through that 1985 season, especially the second half of the season. But there was no greater defense ever played by a defense than the 2 playoff games in the Super Bowl. Our defense will set a mark, and I don't care. Nobody will play that kind of defense through 3 football games that our defense played.
Okay, I'll buy that. Entertainment-wise, one of the highlights of the Ditka years had to be the hot and cold relationship between Mike and the punky QB.
You people keep pumping smoke up people's butt about, oh, who's going to call the plays. Believe me, the person who's calling the plays is the right person. That's me.
I'm out there to win. And if it hurts people's feelings, then, you know, I'm sorry. But like he always says, life goes on, you know.
He's a guy that I talk to him all the time. I ask him what's the matter, he won't talk to me, you know. If the whole thing in society is to pout every time you disagree with somebody, forget it.
Why does he say I'm pouting? Because I don't go kiss his that means I'm pouting? I don't, you know, what do I have to tell him?
He's throwing the ball fine, it looks like his shoulder's fine. He's the guy to ask, fellas, not me.
Turn that goddamn camera.
He's always been a fiery guy when he played and when he coached. And he was the same way during the years that we were winning than he was this year. Unfortunately, this year, when things aren't going well, some of his sideline antics get magnified in the media. This is probably a blessing for Mike to get out because, you know, without any control, what's going on and the players you want to pick and the players that you need, you know, you're really kind of, your hands are tied.
Actually, you kind of enjoy some of those confrontations, didn't you? I mean, actually, it's kind of fun for you.
I think the basis of any relationship is respect.
Mm-hmm.
I always respected the way he played. I didn't always respect his sideline demeanor, but then a lot of people don't respect mine anymore either.
You know, he said on that show, he said that when you remember a couple weeks ago on, I think it was on Bears Extra, you said you'd like to see McMahon come back, and he said as soon as you said that, he knew you were going to be fired. Oh, I tell you. Let's go out to Corey McPherrin.
Mike, what about that when you mentioned that you wouldn't mind being reunited with Jim McMahon? What message were you trying to send when you made that comment?
I really wasn't sending a message to anybody. I don't send messages like that. I only say what I think. I only say what I think is good for the football team or would be good for us. I think that there is a spot. I think Philadelphia understood that very well. They needed a quality guy to back up what they thought was an all-pro quarterback out there, and when he got his chance to play, he did an excellent job. Not only that, he was good for the football team because whether you liked him or you didn't like him, his teammates respected him and they played very hard for him. And I can't say that about everybody, that they play as hard for everybody as they did for Jim McMahon, because I knew that he was laying it on the line out there himself.
Mike, as you look back, do you think McMahon's departure, in retrospect, was a mistake?
Well, Corey, I don't know. I'm not sure that it was. As my dad would put it, let me put it this way. Was my departure from the Bears a mistake? Yeah. Time will tell, and somebody will write it in real ink that cannot be erased, that's all.
I'm not even going to ask you about Wilbur Marshall and Willie Galt then. Nice timing. Mike, you've answered almost every question imaginable this week, but I haven't heard you talk in your reflections. Have you wondered what George Halas would be thinking if he was looking down on this mess?
Well, you know, I don't know. I think that I think Coach Halas would have been proud of what we built here. I think he saw something happening in '83 before he passed away, and I think he would have been really excited to see what we took and made happen. You know, whether he would be happy with what happened now, I don't know. But I just know that he hired me for a reason, and we fulfilled that obligation. We paid some dues, and that's what life's all about, paying dues.
Okay, we're going to take a timeout, then we'll come back and take some questions from the audience when the last Ditka Show continues.
How do you... he was a great pass receiver, and when he got that ball, he made the best of it.
Think!
I know one thing, that Mike will convey some of his philosophy and dedication to the Bears players. And if they accept it and work hard, we have a good chance.
Jimmy! 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 Come on, take your time!
My goodness gracious.
My goodness gracious. That's when you were younger.
How could you tell I was younger? Hair?
Yeah. You know, I was thinking about George Halas. You know, he hired you, say, 20 years afterwards, and we know that you were one of the players that were probably the only player that ever really kind of stood up to George Halas. I saw you do it on several occasions, of which Mr. Halas got ticked off at you, eventually traded you, yet 20 years later, he hired you to coach the team, so I think he must have gained some respect for you along the way there.
Well, I think that, I don't know about that, but I do think that he knew that I was his kind of a guy and his kind of a player. He never followed the way I played the game. Mm-hmm. He followed the way I said things at times, but not the way I've played the game. He couldn't fault that because I played it hard for him.
And you did coin that original phrase, right? That he threw nickels around like manhole covers?
Nope.
No?
That was Bill George. I just repeated it.
Oh. Okay, well, Mike's relationship with Michael McCaskey is obviously different from the Hallis years, and it has been from the start. So let's go out to Howard Sedbury for more on that. Howard?
All right, Johnny, I don't know if they're going to like this or not, but we're going to hear from Michael McCaskey now as we talk about this. Don't blame me, I'm just the messenger here. One thing's for sure, the coach and the owner are cut out of different cloth. One is Ivy League, the other one is street smart, and from the beginning their relationship was at best kind of awkward. November 11th, 1983. Michael McCaskey becomes Bear president and CEO. He inherited that position and inherited a staff that was not his own.
We are the Super Bowl champs!
It all came together in 1985, but even back then, even in victory, he heard boos.
Woof, 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 woof!
Yes, attempts to be one of the boys missed the mark. He hung on the sidelines, which never played well with players or coaches. Slowly but surely, McCaskey took control and put his people in place. In '87, he fired general manager Jerry Vanisi, a holdover from the Hallis days, and a close friend and confidant of Mike Ditka.
What hurts me the most, that he is my best friend.
Ditka's shoot-from-the-hip style, which was perfectly suited for the Chicago Bears, never really suited Michael McCaskey.
This time around, he hit the fear side of it too hard, which was not so important when we were winning and we had veteran players, but now we had a lot of younger players, and they didn't know quite how to react.
My philosophy is to try to win. You know, if my philosophy doesn't meet with his approval, then he ought to get rid of me and get somebody else. It's that simple.
Despite those remarks, the two got together on one last deal in 1990. But it was obvious that it was just a matter of time until Michael McCaskey would get what he wanted, his own man. And he doesn't have that man as of yet, but unfortunately that's the thing worked after 11 years of Mike Ditka at Hallis Hall. Over to Corey for a minute.
In the great tradition of the Mike Ditka Show, it's time for audience participation. And our first question, go ahead, ma'am.
Mike, when you are reincarnated, what will you come back as? And what will Mike McCaskey come back as?
If you answer the first, you got to answer the second.
I'll probably come back as that little parking block that was.
Oh, I tell you what, we've gotten the greatest questions out of this audience over the years, but the answers are always better. Go ahead.
Hey, Mike, you played in an era where motivation coming from the heart was such a natural thing. In the 1990s, you got a big distraction called the almighty dollar. What's your advice to a coach who has to build a team where that's a distraction in the 90s?
I think that money is become an important issue. There's no question about it, and deservingly so. Players play very hard, don't have very long careers, so they have to do the best they can. But I still think when you look at the great ones, yeah, they wanted the money, but they also, that never was the motivating factor. The motivating factor was playing the game and practicing the game and getting better and plying their wear on the field. The money was important, but not as important as what they did on the field. And I think that'll always be that way with the great ones.
Mike, what about with free agency coming up now and the fifth-year situation? Players at the end of that fourth year looking ahead, do you see some problems possibly developing there?
I do, except that I'll say this. Anybody who wouldn't want to play in this city is foolish. This is the greatest city in the world.
Mike, have you thought about coaching at a college like some of the other former NFL coaches have done?
Well, I applied at Slippery Rock and they turned me down. No, I don't know what's going to happen. I just want to take one day at a time, relax a little bit, and see what happens. But you know, nothing's out of the question, I'm sure. I had a couple offers from a couple Little League teams.
They're want ads.
Here's a guy trying to get you to spend some big money, Mike.
Coach, I was just wondering if you had talked to Walter Payton yet to buy your own team.
I've talked to Walter, but not about buying a team, but I've talked to Walter. Walter's been very supportive and, of course, just a great guy. I really appreciate his support through all this.
Mike, through your days as a player and obviously your involvement here as a coach, I'd say you'd be able to write one heck of a book. Any authorized biographies on the forefront?
This one will be authorized, and it will be the truth, and it will be done eventually, but it won't be done to take anybody over the coals. But I think there's a good story out there. I've jumped out of a lot of windows and landed on my feet.
Have you thought about the possibility of coaching against the Bears sometime?
Oh, I have never really thought about that. No, I don't want to start thinking about things like that. No.
You know, speaking of Walter Payton, one of the issues was that he was a little upset with the fact that Mike McCaskey had said it was unanimous, and apparently he was of the thinking that you should stay on as coach. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I said regardless. That never bothers me, whether people support me or not. I did the best I could, and we had a good run, and it's over. So now whoever comes in here, I would support him, and I would hope everybody else would.
If you get, let's assume you get a job, another coaching job, whether it be this year or next year, what are the number one things, and you have some control, what will you do? What is essential in this modern era of pro football as far as handling people in free agency? What would you do?
Well, I think, first of all, that I would try to get a nucleus of football players that really understood what we were trying to do, that wanted to win. And I'm not saying that money isn't important, but they wanted to win, and I think they ought to be compensated fairly for what they do. I would try to instill in them that the team is the most important thing, and attitude and character, and to me that's what you win with. I don't, you know, you can get into who runs the fastest, jumps the highest, throws the best. But, you know, there's got to be a chemistry, and it's got to happen. We had that chemistry. And I really mean that we could have won a couple of Super Bowls. We never actually had our quarterback healthy at the end of the year. That's what was one of our big problems. And I don't know why it happened. I don't know. But we seem to play every playoff every year with a different quarterback.
What do you think, Gary? What do you think happened on that? The Bears were so close to that dynasty at the end. And, of course, one of the key reasons was the quarterback situation. But as you think back on it, how did it slip away?
You know, it's funny. I remember the only two things that Mike insisted on being on the Super Bowl ring were team and attitude. And I think Mike mentioned earlier, we won that Super Bowl and we sacrificed everything. And I talked to John McEnroe, a good friend of mine. How do you stay at the top? We had some petty jealousies, and people wanted this and people wanted that. But I still think we were 14-2 in 1986. We could have won it. I don't think we could have won it with Doug Flutie at quarterback. And if Jim had been healthy, I think we would have had a good shot of doing it again. So, you know, those things happen, and I think an organization has to recognize that you never stay the same. The other teams are all getting better to beat you off the top of the block, and we weren't able to accomplish that.
Okay, let's go back to Corey.
Another question, go ahead.
Coach, besides all that you've done for the athletics in Chicago, you've really come to symbolize the pride and the hope and the great spiritedness of the city. What's going to be your favorite memory?
Well, I don't think they're, you know, Johnny played, we both played in '63, and that was a great memory, really. That was an era of football that was completely different than today's. The '85 thing, that can never be replaced in my mind, really. Walter Payton setting the rushing record. I mean, there's a lot of things. I could go on and on, but, you know, to me, the most important thing I'll remember was the feeling that I had of being a part of this organization. That's the most important thing.
Your question for the coach?
Yes, Coach, I was wondering how you feel having coached some of the greatest football players of all time, like Mr. Fensick, Walter Payton, Dan Hampton.
Well, those players didn't need a whole lot of coaching. If I had a few of those around right now, I would still be here, gang. I'm telling you. You know, those players need very little coaching. But how did I feel? I feel privileged. Thank you.
I have one more question before we go to break, Mike. Why do you think Mike Ditka has the television or the public charisma that he has? Why is it that people like Mike Ditka, aside from winning football games? What it is about yourself? I mean, do you consider yourself an Archie Bunker type, or?
I don't. First of all, let me say I don't dwell on that stuff. But I'll say this. Maybe it's because I'm honest and I shoot from the shoulder, and a lot of people can relate to that. I get a lot of grief. People say, "Wow, you do a commercial." Why do people ask me to do a commercial? And why don't they go get somebody else? I mean, why did they ask? I think because I can relate to people and I'm honest. That's all I can say. I've tried to be that way. If I've deceived somebody, I apologize.
Okay, coming up, the Grabowski Shuffle. We'll meet a real Grabowski. He can't sing and he can't dance, but then again, neither can Mike.
Along the way, you gotta have fun. Grab a good partner, a 1 and 2, Grabowski.
Welcome back to the last Ditka Show, and we're going to take a shot of some of Mike's favorite people out here. Some people from Misericordia, one of Mike's prime charities. They're all here to pay.
They want to present this plaque to Johnny Morris. It says, "Mercy means caring and loving. Thank you for caring about us, Johnny Morris. We will miss you. Love your Misericordia Heart of Family."
Well, thank you. Actually, this award, Mike Ditka has done a lot more for Misericordia than I have, but I certainly appreciate it, and it's very well done. Actually, kind of better than I could do, I'll tell you that. Thank you very much. Okay. You know, we were talking about the Grabowski Shuffle, the infamous Grabowski Shuffle, and let's go out to Corey McPherson. He has more on it, Mike.
You know, John, I think Mike pretty much hit it on the head a minute ago when he talked about why do people come to me for for commercials? Why do they why me and not somebody else? Just because people identify with Mike Ditka. I think it's a whole Grabowski thing. I mean, the fans who appreciate Mike Ditka appreciate his straightforwardness, the kind of qualities where he can stand up to his boss and tell him what he thinks, even when that might even come to in the end, it costing him his job, perhaps. Right now, though, we have a piece from Jennifer McLogan who explores the whole Grabowski phenomenon.
No, there's teams that are named Smith and some are named Grabowski. We're Grabowskis.
I was totally shocked. I said, where the heck did he come up with this? But I felt very honored. If you're using my name in conjunction with the Chicago Bears, that's a great honor.
Jim Grabowski was a tough Chicago high school sports star. His gritty, all-out play won him 2 Super Bowls with the Green Bay Packers. He became a Chicago Bear in 1971. Mike Ditka, who won't be remembered for his dancing, but who can mouth an unoriginal lyric with the best of them, soon had all of Chicago on the same note. Almost overnight, his "We're Grabowskis" description of the Chicago Bears took over as a symbol of determination and pride the city craved. Tough guys who didn't mind bleeding and hard work.
The Grabowskis are something elegant, strength, pride, and I think that sounds like Ditka.
With all of Chicago, especially the hard hat and lunch bucket crowd, the Grabowskis and Mike Ditka became heroes.
There's a lot of people are going to miss him bad.
Talks a lot. I talk a lot, but we all make mistakes.
If it was his talking that was his downfall, fans say it was that very thing, his ability to stand up to you face to face and speak his mind, that they most admired.
Mike Ditka has always symbolized the Grabowski spirit, you know, get down in the dirt and duke it out, and that's we loved Ditka for that.
And Mike McCaskey?
Mike McCaskey is not that kind of guy. He's a Smith. He's not a Grabowski.
I've heard people say that Ditka should have, and I guess I suggested in the column I wrote, should have just sort of popped them on and walked out, which is a nice thought and kind of fun to fantasize about, but Ditka handled it just right. He let McCaskey play his cruel little game.
From the horse's mouth, is Mike Ditka a Grabowski?
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
I really like to see Ditka get back into coaching. That would be nice. I don't know if it's possible, you know, but I'd love to see him get back into coaching. So I'd have a team to cheer for.
Did you read some of the things that he wrote?
I did read it. Somebody handed it to me. And like I said, I really don't read the papers, but somebody cut it out. One of my good friends back here, I'll cut it out, and I have it in my pocket, actually. I do.
Okay, that's great. Let's go out to Howard Sudbury.
All right, question for Mike. Yeah, Coach, did Mike McCaskey burn his bridges, or like in 4 or 5 years,
if he came back, you wanted to coach again, would you?
You know, this is an era that's closed. The chapter, you know, it's closed. Like the iron door, you know, ever see that thing after the film? They take that hammer and hit that big steel thing. Clang! This is Mark 11. Bang, bang out. Gone. But there's going to be another mountain. Join me on it.
Coach, did you have the power to fire any of your assistants without the approval of Michael McPenny?
Those things aren't important, believe me. There's more important things. I don't worry about that anymore.
Here's a question for you, Mike.
Coach, who would you take from the team as a player to be an assistant coach with you?
Well, I want to get into names, but there are a number of coaches that I would find it privileged to work with again if I had that opportunity and I had a job. I would really be honored to work with some of the people we had. We had some great people. Actually, everybody was great people. I'm not singling out any one person and not talking about everybody, but I don't think, you know, when you go somewhere you can possibly take everybody, but there are a lot of guys who, well, if I'm going to, I don't want to get into names, but there's some Grabowskis there, believe me.
Okay, the last Ditka Show is coming right back with some of the greatest hits from our last 11 years.
How do you...
Welcome back to the last Mike Ditka Show. Since he arrived in Chicago 11 years ago, every Sunday during the football season, Mike Ditka could be found here on this set listening to the fans and speaking his mind. The set has changed, the players have changed, his looks have changed, but Mike Ditka has always stayed the same.
We met you at the Royal Hawaiian by the pool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember you. You were a pretty lady in a bikini.
Yeah. And we think you're the best coach in the world, and we all love you.
Well, thanks.
I just wanted to say hello, Coach. I got a question for Dave.
That's right, David. I thought. No, he's a lot smarter than I thought he was. I like that.
Strike a pose.
But I tell you what, I think him and I can become very rich if he becomes a wrestler and I become the man. I'm honest.
All right, I got another question.
I'm not adverse to that.
Especially if I tag team with William.
And well,
the fridge and Ming the Merciless.
It could be unbelievable. I mean, Jim, we could
with
go
the Iron Mike, felt like a Japanese monster movie.
Now what if they all missed their wake-up call on Sunday, and you had to play every position? How much would you beat Dallas by?
Well, I gotta know. I gotta ask you. Do I get to use my golf cart? Because that's very important.
Okay, you know what? We're all out of time on the Mike Ditka Show. Well, it's been fun over the years. I'll never forget the first one. There were about 20 people showed up for the first Mike Ditka Show. Remember the live eyes? We had to shoot it in such a way that you could only see the 20 people in the background, and then it just mushroomed and mushroomed, and the show's been #1 along.
There was no barking in those days, a little meowing. I guess, if I had to say one thing, I'd like to be like Bob Hope. Thanks for the memories.
What we want to do now... And we know that you didn't have all the success while you were here in Chicago alone, that there was another half, probably a better half, and she's out in the audience, and Howard Sudbury is going to help Diana Ditka come up here.
All right, Diana, let's go.
the Mike and Diana Ditka Show. This is the new 1990 show, okay?
1993.
Oh, this is 1993. I'm sorry, I'm living in the past. I'm a coward. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm
Diana,
nervous.
I know that I've been with you a lot since this situation happened. I know you took it, I think, even harder than Mike did.
Well, I thought I'm not going to be able to spend any money anymore. But he assured me I was okay. No, I think that when Mike came here in 1982, it was a gift to Chicago from Mr. George Hallis, and I was very sad to see that tradition end, because I really didn't realize what Chicago Bears meant until I came here. And it means a lot to me, and everybody's been great, and he's the most wonderful guy in the whole world, believe me.
I know that, maybe I'll ask you, I know that Mike doesn't know what he's going to do yet. Everything's come so fast. Do you think he could sit out for a year? I mean, he's got to be working, doesn't he?
Well, I can't see him sitting at home, and I'm out there at the employment agency trying to find a job for him. Please, do you have anything for him? I don't know. I really don't know. I hope that he relaxes, because I think that I could, challenge him in a golf game. Don't you?
Well, you could challenge me. You wouldn't win, but
I'm no dummy either, I know I'm not going to win. I wouldn't let you lose.
Okay, we'll take one moment here. I think we have a special award coming here.
We sure do.
Yes.
This is Vic Lombardi and Paul Gallo, and they've been great
friends.
Great
3 years ago, I designed this piece for you. You've never been the most accessible man in the world. I felt it fitting that you had to get it before you left here. Besides coming from my heart and Paul's heart, I would hope that you would accept this from all of Chicago for the marvelous things that you've done here for 11 years, and I'll miss you a great deal.
Okay, there's a special award from Mike. Tell us what you're getting here.
This is the real McCoy. Wear it in the best of health.
It's a gold, diamond gold Chicago Bears helmet from 2 of Mike's better friends. Okay, we're not done yet. After this break, we have a goodbye surprise for Mike.
I feel like
That's it, Mike. Thank you for 11 wonderful years. The last Mike Ditka Show.
And Ming the Merciless?
It could be unbelievable. I mean, Jim, we could
With
go to
Iron
limits.
Mike,
It's
felt like a Japanese monster movie.
Now what if the Bears, what if they all missed their wake-up call on Sunday, and you had to play every position? How much would you beat Dallas by?
Well, I gotta know. I gotta ask you, do I get to use my golf cart? Because that's very important.
Okay, you know what? We're all out of time on the Mike Ditka Show.
And on the air tonight for the very last time. Many of you may have seen it, but if you didn't see it, you didn't see what happened behind the scenes. Channel 2's Jim Avila is here to show us. Jim.
Linda, Sunday morning without the Ditka Show. It's like January without the Bears in the playoffs. That's reality, and it's going to take a while to get used to. The Grabowskis are wearing black armbands tonight. The last Ditka Show is on tape. It was a weekly love-in at the CBS studios. Mike Ditka, win or lose, was the coach. It was here in Studio One that Bear fans became the nation's football caricature. It's the stuff Saturday Night Live sketches are made from. But it worked.
It's going to be heartbreaking. I hope I can hold myself back. They can follow him, but they won't be in his footsteps. I'm sorry. There's only one Mike.
Nearly every coach, both pro and at the college level, has his own show. The difference about the Mike Ditka Show was that Ditka wasn't afraid of all this kind of hardware. He spoke right to the camera, and the truth can be entertaining. Ditka rarely paid much attention to the production meetings and planning sessions that dominate television. He just answered questions.
Johnny Morris, everybody.
Johnny Morris, former Bear, former teammate, and show host for Ditka's 11 years, agrees that it was the coach's rare honesty that set the Ditka Show apart. He was not the normal athlete interview.
He says what he thinks, and he says the wrong things, but he just has that demeanor. And people listen to what he says. They're fascinated by it. Some people might not like him. Some people do like him. Other people, well, at least they will listen to him.
Some of the things you don't see on television, a special section always reserved for his friends at Misericordia. The commercial breaks filled with autograph signing. Well, the next Bears coach will have a show too. Given the usual term in the NFL, it's doubtful it or he will last 11 years. Or leave us with little beauties like the coach, woof, 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 or finally, in life. One more thing, because Ditka's show was such an independent platform for the coach, the Bears and Mike McCaskey are planning to produce the next coach's show themselves. They like a little more control of that one.
Thank you, Jim.